yeah, 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 look, ball player, no watching from the side. Said that you got him next, well go ahead and show him why. No limits in the sky, go ahead and take your shot. This one is for the city, let's show him how we rock. Coaches used to call my phone, what you doing?
What up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Up Next, the podcast where we tell you who's up next in youth sports. And of course, we also bring you the biggest players in the youth sports game. And we have definitely one of those again today. But first, of course, I'm Jamal Murphy, and I got my co-host extraordinaire, Khalid Green, in the house. What's up, man? What's been up?
Peace, man. I'm just, living. Happy to have a brother up here, man, Munch, the legend himself in New York City, PSA Cardinals. So, we just want to kick it with the brother and see what's going on, man.
No doubt about it. Like you said, we got Terrance Munch Williams, Executive Director of the PSA Cardinals. I'm sure you heard of him. He's been there. He's been the Executive Director since 2008, I believe. But also he has a new book out. It's called Our PSA, a public service announcement on mastering your personal evolution. So we're going to talk to him about, what he's doing, how he got to where he's going, and of course the book. But Munch, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Man, listen, the pleasure is mine. Kay reached out and I said, "Oh, let's do it." This is the first podcast interview or anything of that sort in relations to the book. So, I mean, these things are good connections. I think more important than just selling books is the networking and the connection and just making sure everything is symmetry. You know what I mean? So this is good. This is what it's about. Trying to spread the word and just make it bigger than basketball.
Yeah.
No doubt. So So let me deal with the book first, as far as the first question. But so what made you, because from my understanding, it's not even about basketball. The book itself is not about basketball. Obviously, you've become a legend in the basketball sphere.
Thank you.
What made you want to write the book?
I'm a person who I like to be versatile. I'm always going to try to be a chameleon. I'm always going to try new challenges. And I think a lot of times, like Kay been on vacation, when you go on vacation, a lot of times you get some downtime to start thinking about things that you want to venture off into and challenge yourself. And at this time, COVID was around, right? And for me, I'm always going to be someone that likes to chop up my hours in the day. So I just said, all right, I'm a person that writes in a journal often about my thoughts, about what's going on around me, what I see, and try to keep those visuals. And we just was in the house doing COVID and trying to figure out different ways to keep your mind sane and active, right? And started writing in a journal and then started to express things that I've seen as a young Black man and boy coming up in the world we live in. And I just started having basically a journal entry every day. And the book kind of just became something real organic for myself. It was a bucket list. I didn't set out to say, hey, let me become a bestseller or let me search for this demographics or anything of that nature. I just woke up every morning and just like I do my read for the day or my exercise for the day or my prayer for the day, my meditation for the day. This was another thing on a kind of like part of my to-do list for that daily structure. And then when I went into it, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and came up with things I wanted to talk about, I wanted to write about, and I thought it connected to the young man that I service on a daily basis and the humans that's around me. And I just wanted it to be unique. The thing that's a beautiful situation is it can't lose, right? Like when it's coming from the heart, it's coming from the soul, and there's no expectations, right? Like I feel like just it in itself, when someone of my stature in the grassroots field decides to do something outside of grassroots, it's kind of like a shocking thing. But if anybody knew my background, I'm into education. I got a bachelor's degree in sociology. I got a master's degree in early childhood education. I got a second one in building leadership. So I'm a constant in education and athletics. So this was kind of in my wheelbarrow of just something to try. Right. And the easiest part of the process was the part that I can control, the writing of it, the mission, the thoughts. And then the hardest part I learned later was like, once you decide to try to publish it and edit it and how you want to go about that process was like a lot of out of your hands. So yeah, man, it came from, I call it a COVID baby, right? Like some people was physically making babies, like literally. And I was trying to create something that I can remember that time.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's amazing because I'm hearing myself, Jay, when I'm talking to the brother, because I did the same thing, Munch. I wrote a book. It's probably going to be published in the next month. So that's why I was so excited when I saw you wrote. I was like, damn, this shit is crazy that the brother wrote a book. And it's same thing, Munch. It was during COVID. And, you know, I'm, you know, like you, and I'm hearing you now that you seem like somebody that takes advantage of time. You don't let time and take advantage of you. So I understand where you're coming from. So again, brother, I just got to commend you, because when you started talking about the editing and all the other stuff, I'm like, yo, you don't understand. I mean, it was my first time writing the book too, Much, and it's overwhelming. The other part is just like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
People don't even understand how tedious it could be.
Man, and I think when I dropped the track on Twitter and announced that it came out, just the homies from the block was like, whoa, we here. You know what I mean? Like, oh,
right.
We did something. Like, you know what I mean? It's almost like the rapper with his first album.
Right.
Right. And I remember having the days where you talking to somebody from a publication and the editing process, and they like, yeah, you're going to be book number 40. We come out in 4 years. I'm like, oh, no. Like, I don't got time for that. Like, I got
right.
I mean, like, this is in the pocket. We moving on to something else. You know what I mean?
No question.
I had another one. I'm like, nah, I got to go do something different. Like, I'm trying to learn how to ski or something. Like, I got to, like you said, I'm trying to maximize every minute I have on this planet, man. And I had a couple deaths this year in March from some close men of mine, Kashawn Hicks and Jason Ford. So every day I wake, I'm at every minute. Like, people would tell me, nah, structure. Like, this man is not playing with his minutes. So I was just happy to get it out and, you know, throw it on Amazon. And you guys know the process of that. Like, it's not a money grab. It's more like a, you know, you want to come out with something that you could look back later and say, and I'm still learning about it, right? I'm still learning the ins and outs of this book thing. You know, like, if I looked at a lot of books and I said, they use certain people's faces. Like, if it's a Michael Jordan book or if it's a Bo Jackson book, but Bo not writing it, right? Like, he might be speaking about it, but he not writing it. So I feel accomplished that I was able to sit down and write it and, you know, mess up and fix and turn and, you know, just do something that, like, I don't know if it's ever been done, right? Like, from a grassroots director, or definitely not an African-American. Like, you know, it's just, and that's great when you kind of the first person to walk through the shadows of death.
Right.
More than it's cool, man. The tunnel is good.
Indeed. You know, it's a big deal, though. It's a big deal.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So if I had to ask you what's the book about, what would you say? Because it's not basketball related, but I have a feeling that it's all connected.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of like giving people a snapshot of my journey, right, throughout life. But the way it's designed, it's a journal entry. There's 100 and some odd journal entries. Each journal entry is, let's say, like a 15-minute read, but then it's an endless conversation piece that goes along with it, right? So the way it is you have all of these different topics of things that we go through as Black boys, teenagers, and grown folk in society. And a lot of it is kind of generational, right? Where you see it happen over and over. It happened to your uncle, it happened to my uncle, it happened to me, it happened to my nephew. Some of these things are coming up often and vary. And then what it does is it gives you a topic, gives you the situation, and 9 times out of 10, the situation occurred with me, right? And then it gives you that adversity in the situation. But the tricky part is it gives you a multiple choice element, right? So every single situation, it allows you to say, in that situation, I would have did A. Would you do B? Would you do C? Would you do D? Right? Now, I don't give you the answers to what I did, what I want to do. And at the end of it, it has a moral of the story, right? So the way it's designed is, if all 3 of us are reading the same topic for the day, and you could jump around, right? You could say, hey, I want to read about, you know, is blood thicker than water? right? And that might be topic 75. And you look at the table of contents, and us as brothers say, hey, as I'm sipping my coffee in the morning, or as I'm on my way to work, this is a 15-minute read. But once one person say I would have did C, and the other person say I would have did B, and somebody say I would have did A, we got a whole conversation to happen, right? And we sharing knowledge, and we're giving our rhyme and reason why I would have did this. But more importantly, for the youngins that's coming up, when they see it and they read it, they might be in that situation and say, hold on, before I read this, I would have did A, but now I think I'm gonna do C. So when it does happen, I'm not overreacting. I already processed that, right? Like a common denominator is being pulled over by the police department, right? While we driving. That's been going on forever, right? How we handle that situation is so vital, because it can end in death, or it can end with you walking away safe and sound, right? But as we going through that, it's these obstacles. Like both of you guys might have been pulled over before. Same thing to me. So, I mean, you have topics like, you know, that's in the education field, right? It's one topic that I love. It's called, the title is just pass and pass. So like the basketball element to that is when let's say you're in middle school or high school, right? If you're a big time student athlete, they're going to pass you if you're in the public school system, right? Come to class, you dominate on the basketball court. That's the quote unquote pass, right? And now you're going to pass the class, right? So that's been going on throughout generations, right? We know that. In certain educational institutions, even in college, is going on, right? So what happens to me in that situation is I'm kicking on ass on the basketball court in high school, and I'm passing, right? There's people the security guards is betting on the games. They betting on this, that, and the third. So in the storyline, my math teacher at the end of my senior year. Now, granted, my high school eligibility at that point in time of May is over, right? I'm done playing. Got nothing left. So he fails me, gives me a 58. And now I'm shocked because I've been going to class once or twice a week, right? I'm doing what the typical inner city kid is doing and getting over, right? So now I got these options. Do I A, go see the principal and say what's going on? Do I B, drop out and say forget the diploma? Do I C, take ownership and go to summer school, right? Or do I D, go to the teacher and ask for some extra credit and try to talk my way out of this situation, right? But the moral of the story is never let somebody belittle your education, because it's going to come back to haunt you, and they're going to stop that situation at some point, right? So these are things that our young athletes are going through in the educational system, but it's being manipulated because we're not challenging them, and they don't know no better. They think they're getting over, and it happened to me, it's happening to youngins. So that's like one of the type of topics that when it happens, you're going to have a conversation, right? Somebody, man, I'm going straight to the principal. He gonna fix this, right? If somebody else may listen, I don't got time for this. I'm out, man. Forget it. Keep your diploma, right? So it's those type of scenarios, but it's 100 and some odd, and then it's always the fork in the road for my life. There's the letter to my younger self to keep going, and honestly, I'm trying to be that example for kids from my demographic from where I grew up, right? And hey, man, if y'all looking at me now, and you understand what it took to get to where I'm at, you got a head start, right? Like I come from, you're going to learn in the book. I come from the food stamp welfare era, right? Like, crack era and, cocaine and all that type of stuff where, I told my mom, man, listen, my hustle and my drive come from you. You know what I mean? Watching you, take them food stamps and trade them in for them dollars, right? And obviously you get less, but I come from that. Take a can back to the store and get your 5 cents, and then what you do with that, you buy your squeegee stuff, and you wiping them car windows, right? And now you got your paper route, and you branch off to that to the fast food restaurants, and then you go into you working in Old Navy or something like, and it just kept going. But I understand that mindset came from watching moms, first of the month figure some stuff out, right? So I think when people see me now, they like, there's no way you came from that, So when I'm dealing with my guys and kids that look like me, I don't have no excuses, because I know they situation not worse than mine. It's one of the things in the book is, what is it like to be a fully functional homeless person? Right? Like people don't know I've been homeless 3 times. You know what I mean? Lived in shelters and have to go to high school like that. And then they find out, hey man, you got the same clothes on from yesterday, and you in the middle of high school, how you gonna handle that, right? Or you in a space where you're the first one in school, the last one out, You go into the local community center, you go into the local Starbucks, all of that stuff to just try to hide the fact that you got nowhere to go at the end of the day. So, like I said, it's a bunch of stuff like that, man.
That's peace. That's peace. So say the name of your book so everybody can hear.
Man,
please.
Our PSA. Like it's obviously on Chantra, on Pro Skies Athletics, PSA public service announcement. And the our part comes from, I want it to be something that everyone gets behind. Like it's our book, right? Like nobody I grew up with is like, hey, I'm writing a book, man. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's ours. It's what we gonna make it, right? Like everybody that's going to get it, everybody that's going to read it, everybody that's going to pass it to the next man. Like, I don't care if you photocopy and we'll send it. Like, it's ours. Let's do it, you know?
Right. Well, mine is coming in the next few days, so.
I'm getting all my copies. Let's go. Put it on.
Mine is on the way, bro. I wanted to have it right here with me right now on the show, but it's all good.
Man, listen, myself too. The crazy part is, the way the Amazon worked out, other people have the book before me. Like the full copy, like one of my close childhood friends since 9 years old, his copy came in today and he sent me a picture. I'm looking like, oh, it's a baby.
Right. You can't wait to have them, right?
Man, listen, I just want them to get in people's hands and the love gets shown.
No doubt.
So tell us about your story, going back, what made you, like, what got you close to basketball? What made you go this route, education, basketball, all that? Like, how did it all start for you?
Yeah, good question. I mean, typical growing up in the Bronx, man. Like, 2 older brothers, older sister, moms, biological dad that I think is my biological dad, right? On paper, I guess we'll find out soon enough, right? That's a whole entity in itself. Went to the local junior high school, went to Taft High School in the Bronx. Most people don't know that. Like, man, listen, that thing, they was calling that training animals for tomorrow, right? And I played ball there, and that kept me out of trouble. And as I was there, I watched, 96% of my friends drop out or fail off and not play. And, I utilized that to get to college. But at the same time, I was in a program called SCAN, Supportive Children Advocacy Network. And we used to do a ton of like rap sessions, right? And every Monday we would do the rap session. It's crazy because I went to the rap session because at the time they was giving tokens, right? You can get the tokens and they were feeding you, right? So like I would go every time, burgers, fries, pizza, tear it down, get my tokens, figure out how I'm gonna use my tokens, right? For real life, and then get back somehow, some way the next week. But I met my mentor, Marsha Scipio. I met her there. She was a Yale graduate, right? Sister, powerful. She's a pastor now. And when I met her, she was anti-basketball, right? Like she didn't know nothing about sports. She didn't care. She just took me under the wing and just was like, look, young Black man, I got to help you become educated, right? And the school called Holderness School, it came to our rap session, private school. And it came by the rap session, and through the grace of God, the guy, Mr. Peck, he had a conversation with her and said, hey, I want to invite him to the boarding school, right? And that's in the book. So now I got the decision to make. I'm graduating high school. I'm not failing, right? I'm all 75s, right? I got just enough for you to leave me alone and just enough to get through, right? I got all 75s. I finished up that math class in summer school. And now I'm at that fork in the road. I'm like, listen, I could go to Howard. I could go here. I could go there. And she sit me down and she's like, look, academically, you're not going to last for 2 months. You got to go to prep school, right? So, and this is why I tell people your mentors in life can literally dictate how far you go in this world, right? And I got lucky that this woman came in my life and took me under, because at that time she made the decision. She said, look, you can't go to college. So I'm looking at her, typical teenager, like, you going crazy. What you talking about, right? I'm past everything. I got my diploma. I'm ready to go. So long story short, I ended up going to Holderness in Plymouth, New Hampshire. It's 4 Black people up there, right? First day, and she dropped me off. I sleep the whole ride. It's about a 7-8 hour ride. She take me up there. She like, wake up, you at your new home, right? And I get there and I'm shell shocked. You know what I mean? I'm thinking I'm hooping, and then come to find out, most people don't know this. I do my junior year and my senior year over. So this is crazy because I'm like, hold on, I graduated. Like, this wasn't like a fluke. You know what I mean? I did that. But when I sat down, I realized I didn't remember nothing, right? Like, I was just going through the motions to get that number on the report card to get the diploma. But my retainment of information wasn't there, right? My foundation was ferocious, terrible, right? And I get there and, you know, shell shocked, learning new stuff, wearing shirts and ties, meeting, first time in my life meeting white folk, right? Different cultures, different movements. Basketball was bad. I was dominating that, but I became competitive academically, right? And that was the light that went on. I remember getting that 47 in Spanish, and after I studied, and I came to the room and broke down crying. Before that, I probably never cried, right? Like crying tears of failure and you know, confusion. And I get on the payphone at the time, it was payphones, call my brother, and I'm like, yo, I'm coming home. And, you know, I'll never forget, he said, coming home to what? What are you talking about? There's nothing here, right? And at that time, I'm living in a 1-bedroom apartment with my mom, right? My sister's living on a cot with a newborn. Myself and my second brother, middle brother, we basically trading off every night. He's sleeping in 2 chairs put together with no cushions. I'm sleeping on the cushions with the floor. And you know what that looked like. You dodging anything and everything that comes through, right? So mom's just making it happen. And he like, bro, it's not in here. What are you talking about, right? Hang up that phone, buckle up. Time to make something happen. And throughout that journey, 2 years later, I graduate and I go to Wesleyan University in Middletown, Connecticut. Now, this is no joke. For me, I'm looking at Black women. Like, I've been up in New Hampshire. There's no Longs up there. There's no Sanaa Lathans running around. Like, I don't see nothing. I go on my recruiting trip, right, for basketball in Connecticut. And all I'm saying is, this is so crazy. I'm looking through a mirror as the coach is talking to me in the cafeteria, and all I see is Black, fine women behind me, right? But I'm looking through a mirror, so it looks like it's double.
Right.
And I'm coming from nothing. Like, it's just nothing, right? So I'm like, and I'm thinking, I'm a mama's boy at that time, still to this day. I'm like, I'm gonna be closer to the crib. I'm here. Let's go. Sign me up, right? Do my 4 years in college. And what I learned is when I got my acceptance letter at Holderness, you know, from Wesleyan, when it came in the mail, all the kids was kind of like jealous. They had animosity, and they were like, man, how'd you get in there? I didn't know I got into Baby Harvard, right? Like, I had no clue. I just was a good student at the time, good basketball player. And now that I understand it, I'm like, yeah, you got to use this basketball thing, man. You got to figure this out. Had great mentors there, right? Mr. Furlong, Mr. Bryant, walking me through it. Kid, Mr. Furlong went to Penn, right? Mr. Bryant went to Brown. So you talking about I had Yale, had Penn, I had Brown. Somehow God is like, I got you, right? Like, I got you. So I do that, come out of Wesleyan. It's crazy because my last year, I'm being a ticking time bomb on the basketball team. Me and the coach get into it. It's going to be in the book. Mid of the game, I'm like, man, I'm out. Storm out, throw my jersey, you know, typical ignorant. It's ignorant. And I never come back. But that was the reason that saved my life, though, because had I kept playing, I would have never got serious about having a job, right? At that point in time, I always remember, bro, you can't come back to the block with nothing to show. You got to get a job, right? So go to the community, the job affairs office, and they just asked me, like, what you interested in? I'm like, I like kids, right? I did all my summer camps and deal with the kids, and I like ball. And they introduced me to this program called Teach for America, right? And they like, you should apply for this. You probably be good. Now, me not knowing Teach for America, you got to go through 9 different interviews. You got to go small group interview, large group interview. You're doing a ton of stuff, right? All I heard was they pay for your master's and you could come back home, right? So I end up doing Teach for America. I end up teaching, right? Elementary school. So I knew I wanted to come back to the block. I want to get young kids. So I taught first grade. And when I thought about it, I'm like, man, a lot of kids grow up and their first example of a strong Black man doesn't come for a long time. right? So I want to be that guy that they see. I'm young too, right? I'm fresh out of college. Most of them don't, Pop's not around, or Pop's running the streets, or, you know, dudes just running in and out the crib. You 6, 7 years old, you don't know what's going on. So I looked at it like this is my opportunity to showcase a strong Black man early in your life, right? So I taught first grade, first year, kicked my ass left and right, right? I was learning on the fly, just like anything else. Second year, I got into it, figured it out, right? Started clicking. I took, everything comes back. The time management, the
Right.
focus level, everything just keeps coming. So did that. Then I was a dean of students. Fast forward, assistant principal. Fast forward, you know, go back to scan, work as an educational coordinator. Then shift from that, maybe a year in that pocket. At the time, get my second master's while I'm working there. Then from there, they gave me the building. I'll become the building manager, right, at the local center that I grew up in. So now I'm super passionate about that, right? I'm in there every day, all day, right in my community. So I go from that. We build Team Scan, right? K start seeing what's going on with that. Some young kids from the neighborhood, 6th graders. We build that thing up to a national power. That's PSA now. Everybody on the quote unquote staff, they really my brothers, right? We all got the same alignment, same vision, same mindset. We just like, look, we're gonna do this ourselves. So now you got Black owned. We got the non-for-profit paperwork going. Lawyers was nice enough to do the paperwork pro bono, switch the name, and like I said, we outside.
Right.
So, yeah, we here now.
Talk about what you just said earlier, being Black owned, because you know, we New Heights, that's not Black owned. We know that. The Wren's not Black owned. We know that. I'm just thinking about all the you know, programs on the circuit. I think you're the only one, right?
I mean, myself and well, it's different now because Lightning merged with New Heights. So
right.
I don't know who the captain of that ship might be at this point in time. Not my business.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, to have it where it's your name on the paperwork, it's your brothers that's next to you every day. I think what's so elite about what we do is if you just think about it from a logistic standpoint, Black men normally do internships in big corporations, the Goldman Sachs, the Smith Barneys, right? All of these corporations, we do internships for free, where our kids get a chance to look at us and say, that's power. We own, right? This is us. And no disrespect, majority of the time, the Caucasians are the interns trying to figure out how to come in and get to college or whatever it might be. Obviously, we love everybody in all races, but it gives the kids the chance to say, like, no, for better or for worse, the people that's in charge look like me, right? If you're a parent and you like, everybody not going to be on the, you know, I'm with the Black owned situation, but it comes with pressure, right? Like, there's not, like you said, Kate, Nike's a big entity and everybody want that deal. So your mistakes that you can make have to be few and far, right? And you got to run it like a corporate 500 machine. So you got to have a smart people around you that understand that, right? And you also in a space where you can't do the same thing certain people can do, right? But then you get, are you a sellout tag, right? So like, we have to make sure that we touch the community that looks like us. We have to make sure we got a certain amount of guys, kids in the program that look like us. We got to make sure that we're strong and powerful, and we can't be mediocre, right? Like, it makes no sense to be Black ran and Black owned and be mediocre at this. Now you disservice the kids because they need to know what greatness looks like on a daily. So even when we go back to the book, this is for them, right? Like, those guys are like, hey, when we were going through the process, it was those guys calling me, Munch, when the book coming? I can't wait to read the book. Like, we outside, like, let's go, right? Like, motivating me because it ultimately shows them, like, even though I'm a director, even though I'm coaching the team, even though I'm fundraising and everything that comes with it, right? Keeping the non-for-profit going to the utmost and trying to be number one, I'm still going to find time to do something else in life, right? If you want to go fishing, you want to play the saxophone, you want to do the piano, you want to be in photography, I'm trying to let you know, like, that's possible. And you still could be a 5-star, right? It's for both of those. So I think us being, I always say us because it's not me, right? It's the dudes next to me and around me and with me, right? Like, they the ones who make it powerful, right? Like, so being one of the few African-American directors, like you said, there's no higher, the elevator's at the top now, right? Like you mess it up, it might not be another one of us for a couple years, right? And we got the saying now, 10 toes down, no merger. So while the atmosphere and the culture is like, man, I'm getting weaker, let me just lean on me, right? And nah, we're not doing that. We got to figure this out. We got to stand strong. And it's a bunch of kids that don't want us to do that. Family, you know? So yeah, it comes with that pressure, but it also comes with that S on your chest, man. You could get to walk around and say, yeah, I hear you, bro, but you don't have no say so.
Right.
You know what I mean? Your voice is 5% of what that man's saying.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And the kids and the families, when you can touch the top, like, oh, he the director, but he in my living room and we drinking red wine, right? Like, that's something. Sometimes they don't even touch the dude that's in charge. They don't know them, right? And like, once the kids understand, they like, oh no, my director is me. You know what I mean? He the same, 20 years older.
Right. Absolutely.
So how did you become, like, how did you get PSA to become what it is? How did you get to greatness? I mean, you got all the jerseys behind you.
Talk about the names though. The names, Cole Anthony, and there's a lot of names, bro. Them jerseys are not just mock jerseys.
They fluid. I like to say,
like Stephen A. said, fluid.
They fluid. How does that happen? Like, how did you do it?
I mean, to make it as simple as possible, work every day, right? Like that's the formula. Like, you can tell someone this is how you do it, but they don't want to do the work. And for me, I've been blessed. Like, a lot of people think PSA Munch and stop there, and that's the illusion. That's the magic trick. That's the rabbit in the hat, right? Because the guys that I'm with every single day for the last 10 years, these dudes are the brains in the machine behind it, right? They just don't like to be in the limelight, right? Like, a lot of times you don't see them doing no interviews, but you know this, K, who booking the flights? Who booking the hotels? Who ordering the gear? Who's making sure they're eating right on the road? Like, who waking them up? Who coaching them? Who going to monitor them in school? Who checking their report cards? Who doing their recommendations? Like, it's 900 elements to this process. So my team of guys, my family, my brothers, they elite and they bosses, right? Like, I'm surrounded myself. I got lucky. I'm surrounded by dudes who are not yes men and will argue you to the death to make it better, right? Like, you in a perfect space when there's arguments about how we can get better, ideologies, and how we go about things, not taking shortcuts, right? It's not the cool thing right now to tell kid, give me a cell phone on the weekend when we playing. Dudes ain't 5 years ago, dudes are scared to death to do something like that, right? Now you see all these programs trying to figure out how to mimic that in a watered down version. They give me a phone for like an hour, you know what I mean? Before the kids flip, right? But point, when you got all of these guys hanging up behind you,
right?
Got proof in the pudding. Got proof in it. We waiting on AJ Griffin.
Wait, who you got behind you? Who you got behind you?
Got Chris McCullough, Terry Laria, Sheck Diallo. Who's this? Thomas Bryant, Ty Jerome, Amari Spellman, Mo Bamba, Elijah Hughes, Cole Anthony, James Booknight, and then there's a blank case because AJ Griffin should be in the mail. Hopefully FedEx get themselves together. You know what I mean? So you got to wait some time to get it signed. So I'm patient. Right. And honestly, it's so much bigger than these guys. They give you the platform to say, look, we know how to finish the product. But it's the 100 some odd guys that went Division I in the last 10 years. It's the consistency, right? It's the 10 guys a year for 10 years. Like, you know what I mean? Come on, man. That mathematics ain't.
The math is not, there's no line with the math. You know, we do the math every day. There's no line with the math, bro.
Yeah. I tell people I'm gonna go out like Barry Sanders. Like, go out before they realize you left. You know what I mean?
And it's funny you say that about the phone. Let me tell you a situation, Munch. So this summer, I was taking phones, and somebody, one of my coaches, he said, yo, this is what PSA does too. And I didn't know that. And now hearing you say that, it puts it in a different light. I did not know that. But he knew that, and he told me that. And I was like, well, you know, this is for me, that's just normal because discipline is important, man.
Man, because you know what you're trying to get away. You're trying to get them away from the outside noise,
From the bullshit, yeah.
lock into what we trying to accomplish. This is the butter time. Like you said, it's Elite Eight Final Four.
Indeed.
Gonna get you to college. This ain't the time to play.
Nah.
You know, you can have that phone all day during the week, man. When we get to lock in, what's your best shot at getting to the college? This your best shot right now.
Right.
We gotta give it our all, man.
Indeed.
You know, and do research on it. Obviously, stuff like blue light, staying up late, and you know, just the journey, man. These kids got 9 people calling them all type of time during the night. Social media. I tell kids,
yeah.
And to your right and to your left, go and dictate your journey. Because you might be the best guard or the best person, and the 2 guards stayed up all night. And he's sick and tired at 8 o'clock in the morning. You keep kicking it to him because it's the right read. Coming up short, air ball, side of the barn. Because he's been up all night. Yep. You know what I mean? So that's a challenge in itself to discipline guys. But when you take something away from them for a small amount of time that they value, but now what you're giving them in return is so powerful, right? You giving them the financial literacy on the road.
Yeah.
You're talking about what is it like to invest money. You're talking about what is it like to buy your first car. You giving them time to meditate, right? You giving them ice baths and you know, yoga sessions and film watching, and you know, you got them reading on the road and having study hall hours. And you replacing the phone with something. Now, if you don't replace the phone, now you just wilding. You know,
you got to circus, no question.
You got to replace it with something, and that's what we try to do: replace the phone with something.
No question.
As a black, you know, being black owned, tell me what, you know. Obviously, the kids you're dealing with, or basketball in general, is like you're dealing with like 90% at least black kids. You know what I'm saying? So what do you think is the benefit of having you or a black person in that position of power? And is there a difference in terms of, do you think there's a difference in terms of how you treat them, how you care for them, and that type of thing?
It's definitely not different because, like, I remember a young kid, Joel Villa, Dominican kid, came over in the 6th grade, spoke literally no English, right? But phenomenal kid. Dad was a super, stayed with us the whole ride, you know, went to Ithaca, graduated, and now he's running, you know, a business, learned English, went to prep school, right? Got him in prep school. Well, first put him in Catholic school, got him in prep school after. Like, to see his journey, it's no race on that. That's just a journey, right? That's just a path, right? It's you're in a space where you want to see people win, right? He's no different than the kid Austrian Robinson, who we take from Harlem, right? And he got, you know, a couple brothers, a sister, a mom, and we grab him at 12 and say, look, man, come on. We're gonna get you in a better school situation. We're gonna put you in boarding school in Massachusetts. He go to boarding school. He go to junior high school and boarding school, right? 7th, 8th grade. Then he goes to Trinity Paulding, and he graduated, but he started playing football at Trinity Paulding. Kid ends up going to Ole Miss for football, right? And I remember sitting there telling him, football, man, you crazy, you're gonna get hurt. I need you for basketball. And he like, give me a shot, Munch, just give me a shot, right? But in his journey, Mom's basically kind of like, let me father him. He living in my apartment, going to school. You know, and when he repeated his 8th grade year, I'm teaching him, man, get up, take the garbage out, do the dishes, being in on time. Here's some money for breakfast. Let's get on the train. Let's be on time. Let's study. So his whole 8th grade year was almost like, this is preparation for real life, young fella. But he from Harlem, Joel from the Bronx. One is African American, other one is Dominican. Then you're gonna get some Caucasians that they got same thing. We all got problems, man. Right? Like, I remember one kid coming over and he telling me, I'm addicted to Red Bulls. And I'm like, what you talking about? And he explained it. I was with Team X, not gonna say no names, right? And the kids would stay up all night. And because they would stay up all night, I would need to drink a Red Bull in the morning to be able to play. Goes back to what we talking about with the cell phones, right? So now he just end up in the wrong crowd. So as you picking these units or teams, you got to figure out what fits what you trying to do, right? Like that kid, he fit with us because he wanted the structure, right? And he wanted the grind, and he wanted same thing. We doing community service. He in the middle of the Bronx handing out shoes. He in the soup kitchen handing out food, right? He in the shelter handing out coats. Like white, black, Latino, it's all the same to me, man. It's people, right? And you want good people around you, and you want these journeys so they remember that.
Right.
So when you first got on, you were talking about, obviously there's always ups and downs, but you had all this success, and it's just as hard to keep that success going. You got to work just as hard. Talk about that a little bit. Even as successful as you've been, you still got to figure out new ways to do things.
Yeah, you got to reinvent. You got to reinvent yourself. You got the one thing I feel like happened to us is when we got creative, people copied it in 30 seconds, right? Like man, this photo shoot, we about to do this. This is a dope idea, and you birth it, and then somebody snatch it in 2 months. You like, damn, they didn't even understand how hard it was to come up with that idea. Like, you're in the game to bring something new to the game. It take a lot of energy to think about it and be organic and be just different, right? Trying to separate yourself, right? But then being on the top comes with a lot of animosity that I didn't understand, right? Like, before we had a Nike deal, I was just Munch, what's up? Everybody got love. The minute you got the deal, everybody looked at you like you stopping them from something, right? Mm-hmm. So like in the book, it's a topic, and I say looking at another man that looks like you, and it makes you feel like a failure inside. Because I've felt like I've dealt with that when another man is looking at me and saying he's successful, but he looks just like me. Like, me and Kay can walk down the street and wear the same Nike tech suit, right? The same fitted hat and a pair of J's. But we all can have that. But the dude could be looking at you with animosity because he don't feel like he's that elite in his own self. So how do you cope with that when you just trying to live your best life, but now you're getting enemies just because you shining, right? Because you trying to put the work in to be great. So I think that's something that a lot of us deal with, right? And just the balance of being a normal human, right? And trying to do this, right? Like, when I don't want people just to be like, my life was, he was an AAU director. I want to have versatility, man. I want to be able to say I was a teacher. I ran an after school program. I wrote a book. I ran my own non-for-profit. I want to do 5 more things like that in the next 10 years, right? Like, hey, like, yo, I was an NBA scout. It all go together, right? And that's the journey and the path that I'm on. But I think what makes it difficult also is when the drive used to be about, hey, I'm gonna do this for the block, I'm gonna do this for the hood, I'm gonna do this for the borough, I'm gonna do this for the city. Now I'm gonna do this I'm dominating the country. So what's your why? How do you keep finding another why, right? And now my why is simple: get guys to college, and then when they was doing it and they graduating, you gotta find things to motivate you. Right? Like, somebody say something, it's like what I think Mike said it. Like, he just started making up stuff. Somebody said this about me, and now I'm gonna go dominate. Like, I'm kind of in that space. You know what I'm saying? So like, when I used to joke about people posting stats, like, you post a stat, this kid had 15 and 7, but no one would ever post a report card. Right? So we like, you know what? Let's try that. Let's post the report cards. Let's post the GPA and see if they follow that.
Cricket.
People follow that, right? They follow the basketball stuff, but they won't follow that other stuff.
Right.
So it's no shot at nobody. It's just when you're in a space and like, I figured this space out, is how do you get more out of the space, right? What are you trying to do? Like, we done did the combine, we done did the high school event, we done did the prep school, tour fairs and things of that. It's all attached to it, right? And this is another thing that's attached to it. Just, we did podcasts. Like, last night I'm doing a Zoom. People don't even know it's kind of behind the scenes. I just tried it last night. It was, I want to stay connected to, obviously, the alumni, right? The brotherhood. So you take 3 guys from 3 different classes of PSA graduates, and I asked them 6 questions, 2 questions apiece. We obviously recorded, same thing we doing now. I give them 6 questions. A lot of it is PSA centric and what your growth mindset is, right? Can't have a fixed mindset. You got to have a growth mindset. So we asked them 6 questions. They asked me 1 question apiece, right? And at the end, you know, RIP, my guy 40 passed. We asked them, hey, what would you have said to him if you could speak to him one more time? Right? So they share that. But an example of a question would be, now that you're a grown man, what would you tell to your younger self about AAU basketball? Right? So last night we had Ty Jerome, we got Max Loca at Penn, and we got AJ Hogarth at Michigan State. So Ty says, I tell my younger self, don't worry about the rankings. It doesn't matter if you're 40 or 43. Don't worry about the Jordan Brand game. Like, let the main thing remain the main thing, right? And you can get people to have conversations about the current state of AAU, but from them where they already made it.
Right.
So I want to do that now, like Wednesday nights, 8:30, kind of just shifting your mind to something else, right? So that's a good question, man.
Nice.
And last question before we let you go, you just mentioned it, the state of AAU. You know, AAU gets the bad rap. You know, they try to blame everything everything wrong with basketball is because of AAU. What's your take on that?
I'll give you an example. I've always been, and the program has always been innovative, right? Ahead of the curve in a sense, and willing to try things. And you're gonna fail sometimes, but we're willing to try things. So when the book comes out, you get the tag, he a hustler. He got a hustler spirit, but it's used in a negative connotation, right? Mm-hmm. So I said to myself, when a regular person writes a book, they're an author. People salute that. People buy those books. And that person's job.
Intellect too.
Yeah, he's super smart, right? And it's not shocking that he wrote the book, right? But for me, it's, you're supposed to be in this box, right? You're supposed to be in this box and just coach a game, right? Coach basketball. What you doing over here? And if you did that, it got to be a hustle behind it. And what you mean you're not writing about basketball? Get back, it's what Bron's saying, right? Get back in that box and talk about basketball. So I started to listen and say, all right, why can't I be smart? Because everyone that comes out with a book, somehow you got to sell a book, right? Like, either you got somebody that's the publisher, the company, they selling it. Like, why did it become a hustle when you're like, the next part of this process is to actually get it in people's hands? Right. So I was thinking, I've been to all of these guys' offices, right? I've been to Coach K's office. I've been to Jay Wright. Every college coach in America, there's books in their office. Every high school coach, pretty much, there's books in their office. Boarding schools, there's books in their office. Something made you choose to buy this book. Most of them ain't good. They didn't write them. Right. So why, when my book come out, or our book, our PSA comes out, does it have something that's like, what's the curveball? No, this is Mariano, baby. This is a fastball right down the middle. It's coming, right? So that was the thing I took from it. Like, damn, no matter how much you accomplish, they always gonna want to put you in that box. Right? It's hold on, you did what? Bro, I did something that a lot of other people did, and guess what? You supported them. Right. I'm looking at the book on the shelf. Right. It don't supposed to be a tug of war with people about buying a book, right? And we laugh and joke about it, and they tell us, you want to hide something from a Black person, put it in a book. Facts. Trying to change that, right? Like, which is why the structure of the book lends itself to saying, bro, you don't got to read for 50 minutes. Give me 15 minutes of your day, but analyze and think, discuss, open your mind up to just having conversations, right? Like, I remember when the Black Lives Matter movement was really, really heavy, and a big topic was white folk not understanding Black folks is fight and struggle and how we went about things. And I think this book can open itself up to that, right? Mm-hmm. You go in the book and you start reading all this stuff that's going on, you like, okay, I might be able to learn something. Go talk to some of your Black friends about it, man. Right? Like, even from a male perspective, women can learn how we dealing with stuff, right? Clear example, dealing with depression alone. Man, you know how many people coming out now saying depression. And man, your mama beat your ass, you ever say therapist, right? Like, therapy, talk to who, for what? And now we get into the point where we need that. We need somebody to talk to, just to vent and get it out. So I say all that to say, the person that says hustler, the person that says gimmick, it's 212 pages in there. If I was hustling, I'll give you 40 pages and say you gotta buy it because I said
Right,
so.
right.
You know what I mean? And if you don't support this, and this is the thing I say about even like when you do a gala, we've done one gala in the history of PSA, right? People do galas every year. Our thing was show the world what we can do when we don't got it. Prove it to them. You see the jerseys, right? So now, and you see the guys in college, when you come to somebody and ask for something, have proof that it works.
Right.
And then take it to the next level, right? And that's the thing about this book. Everybody gonna get behind it. And then it's gonna show the next director, the next high school coach, the next kid from the neighborhood that says, I'm gonna go do that. You could do it. Shit ain't that complicated. If you really sit down and have some patience, right? But what we learned is you gotta be a hustler because it's something they don't feel like they can do, right? That mirror. Because most of the people are saying, now I could just tell you something, man. You know, Peter Thompson, just write it down for me and go ahead. You take it from there. Use my picture and run with it, right? For you to have the discipline enough to sit down for better or for worse and actually finish something you start and do it. Like it's the living example of PSA, right? It's Black owned, it's self-motivated, it's in-house. Like the cover is done by my guy, Andre Charles. That's my assistant coach, my brother that went to college with me. Everything done in-house. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like we funding this thing out to be like, hey, man, let me get the best cover person and the best editor. No, that thing all us.
Right.
You know? So it's a sense of pride. So when you said, Munch, I bought the book, you don't know how that make me feel. You bought it on the arm, right? Like, I'm buying it because I'm supporting my brother that did something that I wanted. I'm right around the corner, bro.
Period.
Let's go. Right. And that's what the energy is. It's not when they slow motion with it. I'm like, come on, this book $20, man.
Yeah.
What we doing here? Like, and if you can take 10 years of my blood, sweat, and equity with the rest of them dudes next to me, I know I done did so many people a favor. That thing should hit 10 racks easily on sales.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just give me one book because y'all on my phone all the time.
Right.
Asking for favors. You know what I mean?
We call that, we said you made your knowledge born. That discipline of having that determined idea in your mind and then seeing it through and now you got the full manifestation of it with the book. I know you waiting for that book, that physical book in your hand, but it's a beautiful thing. You know, so like I said, man, like I was excited. I was excited because I know what it takes. After doing it myself, I know what it takes. So that's why I was excited for you, because I'm like, I didn't know you were writing the book. So the fact that you were writing the book and you put it out, I'm like, damn, I know what it took. It's no joke to go through that process.
And the question is when, how, right? Yeah. Like when man got time, I see him out here. Like I see him working. Like,
right.
When he wrote it, you know what I mean?
Right.
So man, listen, man. You see the t-shirts, man. We going full fledged, and we gonna do a book. We doing book tours. We just doing everything we gonna do, man. We gonna have some signings, get the t-shirts out. But like I said, now the next step is take those funds and you invest them into stocks, right? Into stuff, and you let that grow. You let that grow. You play with that. So I appreciate y'all, man.
Indeed.
I'm gonna
baby.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy the book. No question. No hustle.
Know he gonna buy the book now.
I'm buying the book. No hustle. You know what I'm saying? Man, this was great. Once again, this has been Terrance Munch Williams, Executive Director, PSA Cardinals. You know him. He's been there since 2008, created a monster, and the new book, of course, Our PSA, a public service announcement on mastering your personal evolution. Hopefully we get you back on sometime soon in the future, because this was great. Dropped many jewels, but we'll definitely catch up with you. Appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you, brothers, man. Thanks for having me.
Much respect, brother.
All right, great stuff, man. Great stuff. Definitely buy the book, Our PSA. I wasn't bullshitting. I'm about to buy that. No question. Like you said, $20. You could do a lot worse with $20. I'll tell you that.
That's a fact. No, I really appreciated, Munch sharing his story. I learned a lot about him. Strong character, strong brother. I'm a competitor because I'm with New Heights, but I'm definitely somebody that respects what they've done. anything that's governed and run by Black men, I definitely support. So shout out to Munch, man, and go buy that book, man. And it was a pleasure having the brother on.
Definitely. And, you know, of course, PSA, a lot of dudes have come through there and are still there. So on the basketball side, definitely doing their thing. So, and I'm sure you have experience with that in terms of dealing with PSA on the basketball side of things.
Yeah, I've had good experiences.
That's good.
Year,
That's good.
You know, from the 8th grade level, but but you know, from a high school standpoint, they are the standard. So I got nothing but respect for them. So.
All right. That does it for us. This was like I said, a great episode. We'll be back soon, at least within a week. We got monster guests lined up.
Yes, sir.
So,
this is gonna be an epic year right here. So
stay tuned. We of course you can get the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on every channel, every podcast platform. Of course, check us out on social media. Follow us at Up Next Pod on Instagram and at upnext_pod on Twitter. Check us out on YouTube, Up Next Pod. We're putting more and more stuff on there. So you know, we got it going. So definitely, you know, get on the train now.
Indeed, and my book is coming out in about another month. Free Game: A Parent's Guide to Navigating Black and Brown Children Through Youth Sports and Beyond. So
yes.
That's going to be out, and we're going to be pumping that. And but in the meantime, we're giving love to PSA.
Definitely.
PSA. Peace.
Look, ball player, no watching from the side. Said that you got him next, well go ahead and show him why. No limits in the sky, go ahead and take your shot. This one is for the city, let's show him how we rock. Coaches used to call my phone, what you doing, just got home.